making it easy to finish what you start. Today on the Landlord Coach Dailyish Show.
Five, four, three, two, one, zero, ignition, liftoff.
Hey everybody, eventually I'll get this thing down. Click the wrong button. Welcome to the Dailyish Show. It's really good to see you. This is a show for not just rental property operators, but also for any of you who are out there. Maybe you're business owners or just looking to be more time wealthy and have more white space on your calendar. Whatever. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you. So today's topic is how to make it easy to finish what you start. And this is a problem. This is a problem among people, especially people who are entrepreneurs, because there's so many different opportunities, different things that distract them, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So for those of you who are interested in getting a copy of The Time Wealthy Investor, if you're interested in more white space on your calendar, and this book is more specific to real estate. So if you have a rental property operation, although I'll tell you what, recently had a person who has a marketing business read this because they were wanting to be more time wealthy, and they said, you really need to write a more generic one. So maybe or not, that is in the works. We'll see. I don't want to let the kitty out of the burlap, but anyway, that's where it is. So if you'd like to join us in the discussion, you can join us in the Time Wealthy VIP Lounge, and there are people from all cross sections of different industries in that room. So come join the discussion. We talk about things about being time wealthy and more effective and efficient and all sorts of different things. So really good discussion going on in that room. It's a brand new group. So come on in, say hello, tell a friend, because if you don't tell a friend, the terrorists win. All right, that's enough of that. So how to make it easy to finish what you start. I'm reminded of a conversation. I was in a coaching session this morning, and I was reminded of a conversation I had with my dad. And we were, I won't ever forget this. We're sitting there in this tiny office that I had. It was my first real true office that was not in my home. And we're sitting at a desk. He's sitting on the one side of the desk. I'm sitting at the other. And I had a computer on the desk, and I'm just trying to get as much work as I could get done. And my dad was trying to help me out. I mean, he saw that I was struggling, trying to get as much done in a 24-hour period as possible. He saw me running around, which he referred to as buggy lugging. Can't do all this buggy lugging, he would say to me. And he's sitting across the desk from me, and he was just watching me work. And there I am, typing away, trying to get, my day lined up as best I could, printing off work orders that I had to do in the field and so forth. And he's sitting there and he's watching me. And he didn't really say a whole heck of a lot, just keeping the conversation kind of light. And he said to me, I bought a lot of businesses in my day, and to give it some context, my dad owned a trucking business that he built basically from scratch. And back in the days of when he was in trucking, he had to either buy the route or buy the business, buy the company. Back in the days of the Interstate Commerce Commission, that's how you established your routes. Either you bought the company that owned the route, or you bought the route from the company. That's the only way you could expand. So in the days of the Interstate Commerce Commission, that's how you did it. And he said, I bought a lot of companies in my day. And he said, and every single one of those companies was struggling. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I understand. It kind of makes sense why he goes, yep, and they all had one thing in common. And I said, oh yeah, what was that? And he goes, that. And right behind me was sitting like a credenza. And on top of the credenza was a stack of papers, unopened mail. I mean, I didn't even really know what was in the stack, but it was just a pile of papers that I just did not have time to get to. And he said, do you even know what's in that? I said, well, mail and unopened stuff and stuff I haven't dealt with yet. And he said, yep, every single company that I bought that was going broke had that stack of papers somewhere. Sometimes it was much bigger. Sometimes it was an entire room filled with papers like that. But that is what they all had in common. And at that point, I kind of stopped in my tracks because that pile represented all the stuff that I had touched and had not finished. All the stuff that I had started and stopped, I don't even know how many different times. Bills that had not been paid or addressed or something. And I thought about that, about how long that pile had sat there. Now, thing is, really didn't even know what was in that stack. But it started me down this path of recognizing that there was a fundamental way that I did business. And I thought about this, and there was this concept that I heard about, it was like kind of this effectiveness and efficiency guru who was like this sales guy. His name was Chet Holmes. And he put out a book a while back now called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And in there, he talked about different ways to try to be more effective and efficient in making sure that you get things done. So I was like, okay, well, this is the reason why this book was so important to me is it was the first book I read after I got out of college. Because I swore, I was like, oh, thank God I'm done with college because I'm never going to have to read another book again. Well, I probably read more books last year than I ever read in college because I've embraced lifelong learning now. So that's always going to be a thing for me. And I learn kinesthetically. I mean, every book that I have, I mark up and tab and everything else. But in that book, it changed something for me because I was recognizing that how many different times I would touch something before I would actually get the thing done. Whether it was a task, whether it was a piece of paper, whether it was an email, whatever it was, how many times that I would actually touch that thing before I actually completed it. And I thought, wow, there's some that were I touched so many different times, I wouldn't even have been able to put a number on it. It may have been dozens of times. Sometimes I would even say hundreds of times because I didn't know what to do with it. And how many times would I touch that same thing over and over and over again, not knowing when or how or what to do with this particular thing, and how much emotional bandwidth that was robbing from me every single time I would open that email, see that it's still there, and not do anything with it. So it brought forth a very simple concept, which I thought was incredibly simple, but yet so incredibly powerful, was to touch it once. And that really, really resonated with me. So fast forward a few years when things started to get better and I had hired a few different people and I started incorporating the touch it once philosophy where if I didn't have time to mess with it, I wouldn't even open it. Like if I didn't have true time to mess with my email, like there was no point in me checking my email 52 times a day if I didn't really have time to mess with whatever it was. So here's a couple of things that I've learned, and maybe you can employ this and start gaining some of your time back rather than just being on default and checking your email 52 times a day so you can just feel better about yourself. When you're in the touch it once philosophy, right? So there you are, email comes in, you don't look at your email, unless really it's your job to kind of monitor that, then I wouldn't necessarily open your emails all throughout the day. Now, I hear it all the time, but when are you actually going to get stuff done rather than just being at the beck and call of someone else's to-do list, right? That's really what an email list is. You're on someone else's agenda at that point when you're opening and doing all your email stuff. So this has worked out pretty well for me. If you open an email and you can handle the email, let's say in less than 5 minutes, then go ahead and address the email right then. If it's going to take longer than 5 minutes, then you schedule it. Then you get it on your calendar and you schedule it and you get it done. That really, really worked out pretty well for me. And that worked out well for me in all aspects, not just email, but also, any physical piece of paper or whatever that lands on my desk that I want to deal with. I either deal with it right then or I schedule it to get that done. Now, I ebb and flow on this. Sometimes I do better at this than others. Right now, I think I'm doing better than most times, but it still comes back up where I wind up with a stack of papers on my desk, which I like, how did that get there, right? And sometimes it's just stuff that I just need to file away. Sometimes it's stuff that I want to remember or whatever it is, but it's just stuff I need to put somewhere else and get that emotional baggage cleared off my desk, right? So I can have a clean workspace to work on. Because that gives me so much emotional bandwidth that I'm not staring at this list of uncompleted things that is actually not getting done. So how to make it easy to finish what you start? You have to have some discipline. You have to, first of all, you have to have some boundaries in place where you are going to not, be beholden to checking your email 52 times a day, when realistically it might take once in the morning, maybe once after lunch, and maybe once before you get ready to leave for the day. Okay? No more checking emails before you go to bed, because what's the point? I mean, you're going to read an email that's going to upset you, and now you're not going to sleep. Now they're on your time again. There's really no point. So having that discipline, having that self-discipline is really, really critical. But the other thing is allowing yourself to budget that time. So when you can get to those things, that's how you're going to prevent yourself from opening and closing your email 52 different times throughout the day, and you start becoming much more effective and efficient about what you're hired to do. And it probably doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do with opening and closing emails. That's just a method of communication. It shouldn't be necessarily your to-do list. So that's it. And the other thing is, if you are the one that has to do that job, then you schedule it for yourself. If that's a job that you can delegate to someone else to do, then by all means get it off your plate right away and don't mess with it. The other thing is, the last piece of this is ditch it. If it's something that you don't have to do and something you don't have to keep, mark it as read, move it over to your sent items, and if you ever have to reference it again, at least then you have one folder in which to search for that particular item. I don't particularly like a bunch of open folder rules and all this sort of other stuff that goes in my inbox, because I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it clean. But if I read it and it's not anything I necessarily need to keep, it's marked red, and I move it over to my sent items, and it makes it easier to find if I ever need to reference it again. Other than that, I don't keep any of that stuff. That way I try to keep my inbox as low as possible, and I don't have to spend so much emotional bandwidth, as I mentioned before, going back and rereading the same emails 5,000 different times, and finally deciding that I'm just going to declare email bankruptcy, delete it all, and if somebody really wanted to get back with me that badly, they would anyway. So not the best approach when it comes to business. So that is how to make it easy to finish what you start. Make it a policy, set up some boundaries, touch it once, and then if you can delegate it, great, to someone else. If not, budget the time for yourself, and then stuff that's completely irrelevant, that doesn't really affect your world one way or the other, ditch it, get rid of it, move it over to your sent items. So that's really what's helped me, and maybe that'll help you too. If it does help you, or if it's maybe some other ideas that you have, put in the comments. I'd love to hear about it, because I certainly don't have all of this figured out, but it certainly has helped me out a lot in becoming much more effective and efficient. And that is all I have for today. I'm going to leave that up for just a second. If you want to join the discussion at the Time Wealthy VIP Lounge, you can head on over to the group page and just plug in your information, and we'll get you in the room. And maybe you've got some ideas, join the discussion, whatever makes sense for you. Do a little dance, make a little love down tonight. All right. I'm going to go home, and my bride and I are going to the gym tonight, so light a candle for us. And we'll see you guys next time. Please be sure to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. But most important, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have a great day. We'll see you guys next time.